Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Modified Naruto Had Awakened Powers by Fu and Karin Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Team 7, Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura, and Uchiha Sasuke. Your Junin sensei is Hitaki Kakashi, read Iruka blatantly ignoring his students' reactions as he read the assignments. Team 8. Excuse me Iruka-sensei, he was interrupted by a female voice from the door. Yes Shiho-san, he greeted the young Chunin woman. Forgive the interruption, Hokage-sama asked me to retrieve Team 7 and bring them to him, she said nervously. Well, you heard her, he said looking back to his students. What's Gigi want? Asked Naruto impatiently. Forgive me Uzumaki-san, I am not aware, she said slightly downtrodden. Baka! Shouted Sakura bopping him on the head, don't call Hokage-sama that, it's disrespectful. Sakura! That's enough, said Iruka putting an end to the bickering, she's following orders and that's all that matters. Now all three of you get a move on, this is not up for discussion. The group walked mostly in silence through the village. Ah! Shouted Naruto, now I remember you, you sat next to me last year when I took the graduation exam. That is correct Uzumaki-san, I'm sorry you did not pass as you had hoped, she said still nervous. But I made it finally so it's all good, besides, it was totally worth it. I learned something awesome this time, boasted Naruto excited. So you work for Gigi now? Not really, she said, I was ordered to his office and told to collect you three first. So what's it like? Asked Naruto, have you done all kinds of cool missions and stuff? Not really, I failed the second exam. I was reassigned to a research team where my skills were better used. I've already been promoted to Chunin because of it. Wow, really? Asked Naruto excitedly. Wait, what second test? This also piqued Sakura and Sasuke's interests. Well, the academy exam is just the first test to see if you have potential to become a shinobi. Each Junin sensei then give a second personal exam where they look for a specific trait they want to see. My sensei wanted to see if we could follow orders on a written test, my two teammates failed and so did I because of it. It was a silly trick really but I think it worked out for the best. Really? Asked Sakura surprised, what happened to your teammates? One went back to the academy for remedial training, I think he's gone to the standard shinobi corps. The other I think went to work for his family in the capital. So if you passed your Junin's test why did you still fail? Asked Sasuke calmly. Genin teams are made of 3 Genin and 1 Junin. Always and without exception, explained Shiho, if one fails, you all fail. Sounds like something Gigi would want, said Naruto smiling, he's always telling me about the will of fire, and what makes you really strong. Without notice the group arrived outside the Hokage's office. Hello Haruka Nekin, greeted Naruto of the secretary. Hello Naruto-kun, Hokage-sama will be with you shortly, she said with a smile for the boy, have a seat. She then went into the Hokage's office with a stack of folders. How well do you know the Hokage, Uzumaki-san? Asked Shiho. Gigi and I go way back, he took me for my first bowl of ramen, said Naruto proudly. Interesting, said Shiho thoughtfully before glancing at Naruto's stomach, it must be because of. Quote. That's quite enough Shiho-chan. Why don't you four come inside, said the aging Hokage interrupting whatever Shiho was about to say. What's up Gigi? Asked Naruto nonchalantly taking his usual seat in front of the Hokage's desk. Same as always Naruto, paperwork and more paperwork, said the old man with a chuckle. Boo, can't you get someone to do it for you? Asked Naruto, when I'm Hokage I'll forbid all paperwork. The Hokage gave a full laugh at that, if only Naruto-kun, if only. So what did you want us for anyway? You decide to give me the hat early. Not quite yet, Naruto-kun, said the elderly man, this is about your team Junin. I had an urgent mission come up that required me to send out your sensei on. He will be gone for at least a week and up to 3 weeks. What? Shouted Naruto, you mean I have to wait a week or 3 to start showing how awesome I am? That's not fair. Calm down, Naruto-kun, calm down, do you really think I'd leave you hanging like that? Asked the Hokage, smiling with mirth dancing in his eyes at his pseudo-grandson. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the old man. This is because I gave you a nosebleed when I painted the monument, isn't it? The Hokage gave a hearty laugh at that. Trust me, Naruto-kun, when I pay you back for that you'll know it. Bring it, old man, shouted Naruto, and when you lose I get the hat. Anyway, said the Hokage, having relaxed considerably from bantering with Naruto, with your sensei missing for the next few weeks I'm going to give you all a little gift. Ooh, is it awesome jutsu? Asked Naruto eagerly. I bet it is. Is it something that can destroy an entire army or something, right? Not this time, Naruto, said the Hokage, chuckling once again. Meanwhile, as this byplay was going on, the remaining 3 onlookers were completely dumbfounded, even the last Uchiha Saiyan, though it may have been annoyance. So what you got for me, Gigi? Asked Naruto. Shiho-chan, said the Hokage, looking to the young Chunin, would you mind explaining SIPA? Of course, Hokage-sama, said the young Chunin, I work for the Shinobi Institute of Performance Analysis, or SIPA. We were established to provide a full analysis of any shinobi, both current standing and future potential. We do so through a very extensive battery of tests designed to explore all aspects of an individual shinobi's skills and potentials. A very nice answer, Shiho-chan, said the Hokage, taking control before Shiho went off the rails with an overly detailed explanation. You see, a long time ago one of my students wanted to change that way we evaluate talent and potential in our shinobi. He designed a series of tests that provide extraordinary insight into developing a shinobi's skills. It was very promising intel. Well, that's a story for another time. A few years ago his research was handed over to our R&D group to see if anything could be salvaged and retooled. The end result is SIPA. Unfortunately, SIPA's tests are very cost prohibitive for any shinobi to really pay for themselves. In order for the village to supplement the cost of these tests, we'd have to be able to set a precedent for it to be viable. Priest, what? Asked Naruto, confused. We need to prove that the benefit outweighs the cost, said the old man patiently. That's where you 3 come in. Due to the unique situation of your sensei being absent for such a prolonged period of time, I'm willing to give you 3 the chance to be their first analysis project. Is that good or bad? Asked Naruto, unsure. It could be good or bad, Uzumaki-san, said Shiho. This analysis is going to be brutally honest. It will tell you weaknesses, strengths, and give recommendations to your further training. These results will be given to you, the Hokage, and your Junin sensei to use as they see fit. If we make the recommendation to have you removed from the Shinobi Corps entirely, then you have to be prepared for that to possibly happen. But again, that is at the discretion of Hokage-sama. Do we have to do this? Asked Sakura, afraid of what may happen. The Hokage smiled at the girl in appreciation of her giving thought to the situation. It is in order this time. I'm not giving any of you the choice. As such, I expect your full cooperation with all of the members of the SIPA team. Shiho-chan, I leave them in your care. Shiho bowed deeply to the old man. By your will, Hokage-sama, follow me, you 3. Naruto, though, hesitated for a moment. Gigi, can I talk to you first for a minute? The Hokage looked to see something he'd rarely seen on Naruto's face. He'll join you in the hall momentarily, Shiho-chan. Shiho, Sakura, and Sasuke stepped out, closing the door behind them. So Naruto-kun, why so hesitant? It's just, what if it's like Mizuki-sensei? I'm sure they know about it. The Hokage frowned slightly before giving Naruto a caring smile. He then took a sheet of paper from the folder that was currently open on his desk, handing it to Naruto. I want you to read that letter, Naruto-kun. It's from the head of SIPA. Naruto took the letter and read. Hokage's eyes only. Memorandum. SIPA test subject request. FM. Atsui Kona, SIPA operational control. Requesting initial testing to begin with new batch of genin, specifically related to Uzumaki Naruto, Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Most Jinchuriki are awarded with specific abilities similar to bloodline traits where prior Kyuubi hosts have shown no such signs. Understanding must be acquired should weaponization of Jinchuriki be necessary in future incursion or war. Also given heritage versus current treatment, full potential unknown but hypothetical SSS class probable with full evaluation of subject. What's a Jinchuriki? It is the term applied to others like you, Naruto. People with Biju sealed inside them, explained the Hokage sadly. There are others like me? Asked Naruto surprised. Yes, and like you they have not generally been treated well, said the old man, it is sad but true. Quote. Naruto looked generally upset, and what's this about weaponization? Weaponization, Naruto-kun, said the Hokage with a heavy sigh, it means turning you into a weapon for the village to use against its enemies. But I'm a shinobi, aren't I already a weapon for the village? Yes and no, said the Hokage, feeling somewhat proud of Naruto's maturity. You are a weapon for this village, but you are still treated as a person. If we were to truly weaponize you, we would strip you of being a person, call it brainwashing if you wish. It is not something I would ever allow to happen to you, Naruto, but I won't always be Hokage, now will I? Naruto looked sad for a moment before a look of determination steeled his face. It reminded Sarutobi so much of Minato it was scary. I won't ever be anyone but me, Naruto stated, and that means I'm gonna become Hokage and the strongest in the village ever, greater than all the other Hokage combined. I would expect nothing less. But, after reading that, I hope you understand the person in charge wants you in this program more than any other shinobi in our ranks, more than Sasuke-kun, more than any of your other classmates. He will not shortchange you like so many others in the village have. Naruto nodded once, looking back at the letter. What about this heritage versus treatment part? What does he mean? Naruto-kun, like I've told you before. Your parents were powerful and important. In order to keep you safe, you can't know about them yet. He simply means he believes you have more potential than most because of your parents. He also believes that your treatment in the village may have hidden a lot of your potential. So he really will be fair? Asked Naruto just to confirm one last time. Yes, Naruto-kun, I have absolutely no doubt about that, said Sarutobi. You will learn this over the next few weeks, but scientists are very strict and disciplined. They don't really deal with false information. Okay then, I'm off, thanks Gigi, said Naruto once more, back to his normal exuberant self. Not long later, the group of four stood in front of a nondescript warehouse awaiting instruction. Okay, so this is the entrance to SIPA, said Shiho with a smile. Uchiha-san, you're scheduled to start your testing in 2 days, be here by 5 a.m. Everything will be provided including clothing, so just show up on time. Haruno-san, 3 days at 5 a.m. Sasuke nodded and walked away without another word. Naturally, Sakura chased right after him, asking for a date. Uzumaki-san, you start tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., but per Hokage-sama's orders you'll be staying here tonight so we can ensure you don't have any issues, explained Shiho. I would recommend you go and take care of any pressing business and come back this evening after you've eaten dinner. Quote. Thanks Shiho-chan, said Naruto with a grin before charging off to get his ramen fix. After all, who knows when he'll next get to enjoy the food of the gods. Shiho, however, just entered the building to report into Director Atsui. Good morning, Uzumaki-san, greeted Shiho, and she woke Naruto that first morning. MMMPH, mumbled Naruto tiredly, too early. Sorry Uzumaki-san, said Shiho as she yanked away all of his covers walking into his bathroom. Cold, yelped Naruto curling into a ball. Go take your shower Uzumaki-san, I'll have breakfast waiting for you, said Shiho leaving his bathroom with sound of the shower running. Naruto rolled groggily out of the provided bed which was considerably more comfortable than his own bed at home and made his way for the bathroom. Not much later Naruto felt awake and refreshed and slightly uncomfortable in the provided spandex shorts and tank top shirt. They also provide a brand new pair of shinobi sandals. Strangely they were an absolute perfect fit to his feet as if they were made just for him. Turned out they were made just for him from molds taken while he slept, but he didn't know that. When he emerged from his room, Shiho was waiting with a glass in hand which he held out to him. Breakfast. What is it? A breakfast shake. It has all the protein and minerals you'll need until lunch, explained Shiho. It tastes alright too. Naruto shrugged, taking the drink in hand and downing it. It was a sweet vanilla flavor. Not his favorite, but it could have been worse. So what first? Asked Naruto. We start with the physical battery, said Shiho, guiding him through the maze of hallways before opening a door and ushering him inside. Welcome Uzumaki-san, stated an aged balding man with silvery hair around his crown and pair of glasses on his face. I'm Director Atsui, thank you for your cooperation. Yeah, sure, said Naruto without a care. He was more interested in the room he was in. There were dozens of machines scattered throughout the room as well as a couple of large water tanks. We'll start on the treadmill. Please remove your shirt, instructed Atsui. Shiho, Naruto, Bensei, please start connecting the sensors and placing the necessary seal work. We have much to do. Naruto raised an eyebrow but did as told. He was kind of fascinated as he watched the three scientists started connecting sensors and painting seals on various parts of his body before putting a mask on his face and making him stand on the treadmill. Now Uzumaki-san, we will be setting this to 200 revolutions per minute where you will maintain and run for the next 4 hours. Your chakra has been suppressed to the minimal level to keep you alive. We will be monitoring your heart, stamina and a few other aspects. Please do your best. Naruto nodded as the machine began to spin up to speed. It was a little faster than what would be considered a jog for any shinobi. Good so far, Director. No signs of arrhythmia or defect, said Naruto, studying a monitor closely. Lungs function is normal, said Bensei from the another machine. It continued like this the entire time, with the various scientists reporting any slight change, of which there was no change, so more than not they reported a simple no change in status. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted by a loud beeping signaling the end of the test as the machine began to slow to a walking pace until it finally came to stop. Test perspiration while still fresh. I want toxicity reports compiled immediately, instructed Atsui. Shiho, bring his lunch immediately. I want to start the next battery inside of 30 minutes. Right away, Director, responded Shiho, rushing to the only fridge in the room. She returned to Naruto only moments later with another drink and some kind of candy bar. What's this? Asked Naruto now that the mask was off his face. Another protein and mineral shake and a protein and calorie bar, said Shiho. Naruto gave it a sniff before shrugging and downing it quickly. So is this all I'll be eating while I'm here? Breakfast and lunch, yes. Dinner will probably be a similar drink, fresh steamed vegetables and a meat, explained Shiho. Blech, said Naruto disgustedly. I'd rather keep eating these bars than vegetables. I can arrange that, said Shiho with a nod. Really? Asked Naruto, surprised. I thought this was all scientific and stuff. We have to ensure you receive a very specific calorie intake daily based on the results of today's tests. We may increase or decrease your calories after today, but most important is that you receive the proper balance of proteins, minerals, and carbohydrates to perform at your best. Naruto looked on confused but laughed it off. If you say so. Mask back on and into the tank, Uzumaki-san, instructed the director, pointing around water tank. This test will take about an hour. Sure thing, said Naruto, climbing the ladder and lowering himself into the water tank. Check the water dispersal, register body fat and natural buoyancy, instructed Atsui, calmly watching his own monitors. In the meantime, Naruto could only watch as the scientist scurried about the room through the clear glass tank. He had to admit it was kind of interesting and even a little fun. He'd never had someone pay such dedicated attention to him and what he was doing or not doing. He could only hope that it would pay off in the end. As promised, almost an hour later he was pulled from the tank only to be placed into a different tank with water seeming to flow through it like a river. You will be swimming against the current for the next 2 hours, please take as few breaths as possible, ordered Atsui blandly. Once more Naruto couldn't really hear what they were saying around him. He would hear the occasional word but nothing that he could make sense of. When the water flow suddenly stopped, Naruto took it to mean the test had ended. Almost done for today, Uzumaki-san, said Shiho, handing him a towel as he climbed out of pool. Sure, what's next for today? The remainder of today will be checking flexibility, and depending on how the time runs we may check extension strength and muscle tensile, Atsui informed. Once done for today, you'll eat and a scientist will begin evaluating today's results. We will definitely be adjusting your meal plan based on what we've seen so far. What do you mean? Asked Naruto as he was guided to a large mat with several bungee cords scattered about. You're slightly malnourished, Uzumaki-san, said Bensei. It means you haven't been getting enough food or enough of the right foods. So I need to eat more. Yes, and you need to eat better, Bensei replied. I can eat more, but what do you mean better? How much better can you get than ramen? Bensei, sensing a sensitive issue with boy having read his file. Ramen is fine and eating a lot of it is great for pure caloric intake, but it lacks protein and minerals your body requires. You can resolve this issue by simply continuing to eat the bars and drinks we'll be providing you while you're here. So how can I get those once I leave here? Asked Naruto. He was no fool. Well, not always. He appreciated the way Bensei explained it. He didn't say to stop having ramen but to continue having the bars and drinks once he leaves. Something can be arranged, Uzumaki-san, said Atsui, cutting off the conversation. Now let's begin. Now Naruto had thought he was fairly flexible, and it's true he was. There was no range of movement he didn't have an acceptable range with. What he found out was that once fully extended he didn't have much strength to pull back in. This continued for hours as he was pulled and told to pull back through various exercises. Thus concludes day 1 testing, said Atsui, looking towards one of the many cameras mounted throughout the room. Come, Uzumaki-san, said Shiho, I'll guide you back to your room. I'm sure you'd like another shower and then I will bring you to the dining hall. Sounds great to me, said Naruto happily. He wasn't really tired, but he was feeling a bit mentally tired from everything he'd seen that day. It was really interesting. Showered once more, Naruto met Shiho outside his room and followed her to the dining hall. So I'll see Sasuke tomorrow and Sakura-chan the day after, right? Asked Naruto, making conversation with Shiho as they went. Only during evening meal, said Shiho, and that is not always guaranteed as we get into some of the more involved tests. We purposely split you up so that you can't compare yourself to a peer. We find it can be very destructive to proper analysis and evaluation if you're constantly trying to outdo each other. So will you be following me to tomorrow's tests, or do you only do some tests and others do other tests? Shiho smiled. Very good question. Each of you has your own primary evaluator. Director Atsui has a personal interest in you, so he insisted. Fushi-senpai will be Haruno-san's evaluator and Taikofu-senpai will be Uchiha-san's evaluator. They are both brilliant analysts and will be very thorough. Myself, Bensei-senpai, and Naruto-senpai are a testing team. We have a set number of tests we're each responsible for. There are 4 other teams that each have their own tests to conduct. Really? Sounds like there are still a lot of tests to go through, said Naruto hesitantly. he was never very good at tests. Oh yes, we have almost 100 different tests to conduct over the next 1 to 2 weeks depending on time and on yourself, explained Shiho. Naruto paled slightly. What if I fail? Oh, do not worry, Uzumaki-san, these are tests you cannot possibly fail. Just do your best. Are you sure? Asked Naruto. I would not lie to you, Uzumaki-san, said Shiho. You know you can just call me Naruto. It would not be appropriate while you are under my care. Perhaps once you've completed the testing we can be friends, said Shiho nervously. Deal, said Naruto with a grin. These scientists might be weird, but they were all right in his book. It had just struck him rather suddenly that he hadn't received one glare in the entire time he'd been there. They may be very clinical, but he considered them all to be awesome. After dinner, Naruto was given access to a selection of movies and entertainment books. He grabbed one of the Princess Gale movies and book, Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Ninja, which Shiho recommended. Back in his room, the book lay forgotten on the bedside table. Naruto was awoken the next morning once again by having his shower turned on and sheets torn away. Following orders grudgingly, Naruto showered and brushed his teeth only to put on the provided outfit. Today we will be testing strength and recovery. This will be the most unpleasant test series, just to warn you now, advised Atsui. Today's testers are aka, Ao, and Aki. Today's monitoring equipment will remain with you through the night to measure recovery times and may be uncomfortable while sleeping. Okay, said Naruto with a shrug, bring it on. Atsui smirked. Prepare the monitoring equipment. Let's begin with upper body, major muscle groups then minor. Less than an hour later, Naruto was literally screaming in pain as he felt muscles throughout his neck and shoulders were strained beyond anything he'd ever experienced in his life. Muscles show max strain, reported Ao, reducing pressure slowly. How many more of these are there? Asked Naruto, wincing in pain still. Many, Uzumaki-san, said Atsui, I did warn you of the pain. Screw you, said Naruto, wincing more as the pressure finally left entirely. Atsui ignored it. He fully expected to have been more than cussed out by now. If he's showing this much restraint now, he won't for long. Moving on to biceps and triceps, said aka. Please grip the bar, shoulder width apart, instructed Aki. Move Naruto into position for the next test. Now, using only your arms, curl your arms with as much strength as you can muster. This is going to be a long day, groused Naruto as he followed instruction. Thank Kami, the room is soundproof, Akka whispered to Ao, who nodded in agreement. When they finally finished with him, he had to be wheeled out of the room just after lunch. His meals were served to him by a nurse given the damage to his muscles. Worry not, Uzumaki-san, said Atsui, paying him a visit. I know today was rough but necessary. Tomorrow we will be doing mental exercises to give your body a day to recover. Your chakra has been unsealed, so you should recover soon enough. In 2 days we'll resume physical tests. Tired? Go away, said Naruto through a muffling pillow. We'll talk tomorrow. One last test today. This will hurt a bit, explained Atsui as he strapped a new monitoring device to Naruto's arm. He pulled back a flap and, using a scalpel, slice a 2-inch incision in his arm before covering it once more with the aforementioned flap. Fuck was that? Yelled Naruto angrily. I have to check your healing factor. That is the only time I will ever do that, and I promise the cut was done in a way that will not scar. You suck, man. Shit, that hurt, complained Naruto, not really able to move much. I understand, Uzumaki-san, said Atsui, rest now. It didn't take long for Naruto to fall asleep at that point while the monitoring devices tracked various statistical data that would be compiled eventually. Break. Uzumaki-san, you have 2 hours to complete as many patterns as possible, said Atsui. If you don't know the solution, move on to the next. Naruto was sitting at a desk in a near-empty room with Atsui standing at a distance watching. On the desk in front of Naruto was a paper test with lines and lines of symbols in patterned order. So I have to draw what I think would be next in the series. Correct, said Atsui, begin now. Naruto sighed as he began to work through the lines of symbols. Drawing what he thought would be next but skipping more often than not as the pattern didn't make sense to him. However, as he got closer to the end of the test, the patterns began to make more sense to him. Maybe it was just from starring for so long, but they started to make more sense to him. And time Uzumaki-san, said Atsui, collecting the paper before handing him another paper. Ga, what now? Asked Naruto. On the first page there is a codex of symbols, some mean words, some mean letters. On the following page is a story written using these symbols. Translate the story. Be warned, some words may be spelled backwards or out of order, so you'll have to adjust as you go. Naruto just thumped his head on the desk once before sitting up, stretching and slapping himself once before picking up his pencil and setting to work. 3 hours and then we'll bring you lunch, said Atsui as he opened the door and handed off the previous test. This was easy, thought Naruto as he worked through it. It took about an hour to memorize the codex, and then his mind started associating entire word strings to match off the symbols. And then he got to the final string of symbols, except that the final string was not in the codex that he could see. Until he noticed the first symbols was an overlap of 5 different symbols. Then he had to order the letters and words so the sentence made sense. I'm done, said Naruto with a grin. You still have 23 minutes still, are you sure you don't want to check your work? Nope, I'm good, said Naruto confidently. Very well, said Atsui, collecting the paper and handing it out the person in the hall who handed him another paper as well as Naruto's lunch. Eat up, you have 52 minutes to recover and then we'll resume, said Atsui, adding the time he had left over from the previous test. So what's next? Asked Naruto as he ate his meal. Another test, said Atsui, you will find out when we begin. That's no fun, why can't I know now? Because it's important you don't know what's coming in this test before you start. Oh, why? Because that's how the test is designed. Why? Asked Naruto, just trying to get under the man's skin a little. Because the results are dependent on you not being prepared, said Atsui patiently. He's a scientist, he's used to having to explain things. Why? Because if you are prepared the results would be invalid, said Atsui. We'll start soon enough, I would suggest you try to rest your mind. Naruto sighed at not being able to get under the man's skin. A series of images will flash on the wall at the front. Memorize them, and at the end of each series you will write down what each image is in order of appearance, instructed Atsui as he clicked something in his hand, causing a series of images to flash past on the front screen. Naruto watched closely as best he can, trying to memorize each as they passed. Write down the images, said Atsui, handing a sheet to Naruto. Naruto quickly tried to write them down while it was in his head. Time, said Atsui 2 minutes later, taking the page. The next series will pass faster than the previous. It went on like this for another 2 hours, at the end of which Naruto's mind felt like mush. By the final series he felt he would have been lucky to get 5 of the images, as it was he got 4 but probably not in the right order. Next test is another memory exercise. Answer the following question as best you can using the codex from the second test, instructed Atsui, causing Naruto to frown. Naruto received the test. All of the questions were written in the symbol language from earlier, and now he was required to answer using the same symbols, but this time there was no codex to refer back to. Shit, I should have spent more time memorizing that codex on the second test, said Naruto. Atsui raised an eyebrow towards the boy's statement. You were offered a chance to review your answers. Naruto just glared at the man. You have 3 hours to answer 30 questions, said Atsui, passing the previous test's answers out to the hall. That was one good thing. There were at least 60 questions on the test and he only had to answer 30 of them. Slowly but surely Naruto grinded through the questions, creating his own mini codex as he went. Time, said Atsui all too soon. You may return to your room and shower if you wish. Shiho will collect you and Haruno-san for dinner. We will remove the sensors tomorrow. We should have collected enough data. Woohoo, said Naruto. I get dinner with Shiho-chan and Sakura-chan. Atsui didn't reply and simply left, leaving the door open and an attendant waiting in the hall for him. Naruto took a quick show once he returned to his room, sensors and all, before taking a short nap before dinner. Uzumaki-san gently woke Naruto up an hour later. Shiho-chan, dinner already? Naruto asked groggily as he sat up in his bed. Yes, please put on a shirt and we will go collect Haruno-san, said Shiho. Naruto grabbed one of the tank tops and pulled it on, following Shiho into the hall and a few doors down. Please wait here, Uzumaki-san, said Shiho, entering the room. She re-emerged a few minutes later, followed by Sakura. The girl was wearing similar shorts and a tank top, but beneath the tank top he could see a sleek black sports bra. Sakura-chan, said Naruto, excited, how are you? Can you believe this place? Isn't it so cool? Sakura just sighed. I'm tired, let's go eat. Naruto once more felt defeated by the girl's disregard of him. Sighing, he just turned to follow. What about Sasuke-kun? Asked Sakura. Ah, he won't be joining us tonight, said Shiho. Day 2 is very difficult. Naruto just shuddered. You're telling me? I'm sure Sasuke-kun is fine and would want to join us, said Sakura ignorantly. No, he wouldn't, said Naruto confidently. If he went through the same thing I did, then he definitely wouldn't. He did, Uzumaki-san, said Shiho with a grimace. Don't worry, Haruno-san, you'll understand tomorrow. Sakura wanted to protest, but seeing as both Naruto and Shiho were both marching on towards dinner, it wasn't likely to change anything. Dinner was quiet. Sakura was sullen about not seeing Sasuke and Naruto was sullen about Sakura ignoring him. After dinner, Naruto grabbed another movie to fall asleep, to which he did. Break. Today we'll be testing reflexes, said Atsui as his staff removed several sensors and replaced them with different sensors. Inside this room we will be firing small bean bags at you that you will have to dodge to the best of your ability. The bags are small and fast, and if you get hit will sting but will leave no permanent damage. This test lasts 1 hour and then we'll move on to the next reflex test. Any questions, Uzumaki-san? Naruto shook his head, trying to mentally brace himself for this next test. The door opened and Naruto stepped in. The room was fairly large, probably a 20x20x20 cube, and scattered across all the surfaces were small holes. I guess that's where the bean bags are shot from. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin, a voice announced. It started out with a single shot which Naruto dodged easily enough. Then it was 2 shots, 3 shots, 4 shots, and etc. When it got up to 15 shots at once, Naruto finally took a grazing shot. On that first hit the simulation changed and the shots were fired from a random number of holes at the same time and didn't stop firing. Holy hell, shouted Naruto, and one of the bag shooters started to rapid fire and chase after him. Then the floor beneath him started shooting at him too. Naruto soon found himself relying on his ears to signal a shot fired and the direction it was fired from. By the end, Naruto had taken at least a dozen shots, maybe more. Follow me to the next room, said an attendant from the now open door. Naruto followed, rubbing a bruise where he must have taken at least 3 shots to the same spot. Inside please, said the attendant, holding the door open. Uzumaki-san, came Atsui's voice through an intercom system, please strap your feet to the pad in the center. For this test you will be blocking incoming strikes. The attacking poles are padded, but like the bean bags from the previous exercise, they will sting if they make contact. You can knock the poles aside or stop them in place. The strikes will come progressively faster as time progresses. This test will last 1 hour. Great, said Naruto sarcastically. He just knew that this would leave him with even more bruises. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin. The first shot came from Naruto peripheral left. He shot an elbow up the meet the blow, rewarding him with a chime sound in the room, letting him know it was a successful block. The next strike was aimed towards his right hip from the left of his body. It was easily knocked aside, but he almost missed the blow, swinging in from the left towards his head. 2 chimes rang and he kept going. The next test had Naruto jumping from one lit platform to another lit platform before an electrical current gave him a good jolt. The following hour had him punching lit pads as fast as he could in the order in which they lit. Lunch. 2 hours following that had him striking a practice dummy as it lit up with his feet, fists, elbows and knees. The final 3 hours had him throwing a variety of shuriken and kunai at various lit up targets from range. Yo, Tem, greeted Naruto to Sasuke after seeing him for the first time. HN, Dobi, he returned to Naruto. This place is nuts, huh? HN, you recovering okay? Asked Naruto. HN, I'm sorry, I think I mistranslated that last. HN, was that the, I suck and I like it, or the, I'm a whiny little bitch and hurt too much to talk? Sasuke took a very sluggish swing at Naruto, which due to his heightened reflexes from the early day he easy duck and moved around behind Sasuke. Gotcha. The second one, said Naruto, ignoring the slight surprise in Sasuke's eyes. HN, said Sasuke, putting his hands in his pockets and slowly following after Shiho. What did you do today? Sasuke finally asked. I'm sorry, Uchiha-san, interrupted Shiho before Naruto could answer. His telling you could skew the test results. Please refrain from discussing the various tests. As it is, there is no guarantee you're going to be doing the same tests in the same order. Quote. Really? Asked Naruto, surprised. Shiho nodded once and let the subject drop. Naruto fell asleep easily enough that night, no movie or reading required. Break. Today we will be doing vision, hearing, scent, and taste tests. Tomorrow and the day after will once again be mental-based tests. Any questions before we begin? Asked Atsui of Naruto. Okay, let's do this, said Naruto excitedly. We'll begin with taste and scent, he said, holding out a blindfold. Naruto quickly secured the blindfold around his eyes. Now, do not swallow anything you taste, not all of it will be edible. That said, we don't expect you to identify what you taste or smell, merely that you describe it. You can use words like sweet, sour, pungent, rotten, bitter, salty, or any other similar adjective. Do you understand? Sure, I'll do my best, said Naruto. The first thing held to Naruto's nose was a flowery scent, not overly strong, and he described it as such. It tasted bitter and left an earthy taste on his tongue. He was able to wash out his mouth and they brought on the next item. Hours passed in this way and his descriptions became more precise as he began to differentiate more between the various tastes and scents. Lunchtime, said Atsui, you may remove your blindfold. Wow, that was strange, said Naruto, rinsing his mouth one more time before gulping down a few glasses of water. We'll begin auditory tests in 30 minutes, said Atsui, placing his meal on the table before him. Having spent all that time analyzing the various tastes and scents had messed with his meal. His nose was automatically trying to identify the various scents while his taste buds were analyzing the different elements of what he ate. The auditory test is 2 parts of 1 hour each. First, you will be identifying directionality of a sound. Second, you will be trying to determine distance from sound, explained Atsui, holding out a blindfold again. And so it went with Naruto trying to hear where a sound was coming from and pointing in various directions where he thought the sound originated. In the second hour he would hear sounds from various distances and try to guess how close or how far away. It was very taxing mentally for him to try and determine distance. For the visual tests, we will be testing 3 different aspects. For the first hour we will focus on visual acuity, the ability to pick out visual details at increasing distances. Second hour will be focus on your ability to see colors. We will provide you a color palette and be asked to identify in colors shown to you. For the third hour will be testing your ability to seeing in varying degrees of light and dark, explained Atsui in his standard clinical voice and disposition. Naruto was prepared to pluck his own eyes out by the time it was finished. His senses were on fire with all the strain he put them through. Naruto was personally starting to get frustrated with all the tests by now. Especially since that bastard Atsui wouldn't even tell him how he was doing. This was something Naruto voiced rather vehemently over dinner with his teammates. The first time all three of them had been allowed to have a meal together. I know, said Sakura equally annoyed, you've been here 2 days more than me but they don't tell us anything about how we're doing. Fushi-san is so cold and clinical. It's always, do this, we're doing this next, then eat your meal and rest. I know, said Naruto in exasperation, I mean, give us a hint, are we doing good or bad? Haruno-san, Uzumaki-san, said Shiho, there is no good or bad in this test, only what is. We have standard levels in which to compare you against but again, it's a number rating and it will be drastically different for each of you. That doesn't help, said Naruto flatly. He appreciated that Shiho had a job to do but she could have at least sympathized a little more. Said the lone Uchiha eating his food unconcerned though his frustration was clear to them based the white of his knuckles and at his meal. See, even he agrees, said Naruto gesturing wildly towards Sasuke. Break. Today you will be taking a comprehensive IQ test. You have 5 hours to complete as much as you can, said Atsui placing a thick booklet on the table before Naruto along with 3 pencils. The thud of Naruto's head on the desk almost made Atsui smile, almost. This afternoon you will be working through a series of personality tests. I'd give you a personality test, if you had one, mumbled Naruto. And so it went. Naruto trudged through the most mentally exhausting test of his life. If he ever discovered the moron that came up with this test he would happily stab the man or woman responsible. Here is your lunch, said Atsui leaving a tray and taking the completed long-form test. Sure, he could have given the short form but the long form is much more accurate even if it would only be a difference of 1 or 2 points. Kill me now, said Naruto with his head on the cool table, my head hurts. You have 30 minutes to eat and then we will start your personality test. Naruto ate in silence. He'd honestly been feeling cut off from everything lately, so much time testing and so little interaction with others. He was honestly starting to feel trapped or pinned in. Question 1. You are almost never late to appointments, yes or no? Naruto read aloud, what that's it. Yes or no questions. Sweet. No, said Naruto as he colored in the circle. 140 questions later Naruto was feeling somewhat relaxed by that test. Easiest test ever, said Naruto handing it over to Atsui who handed him another test. Question 1. When you are faced with an unfamiliar problem, what do you usually do? A. Address the problem immediately. B. Think about what to do then take action. C. Sit back and let things work out for themselves. Naruto read aloud again slightly disbelieving how easy this test was like the previous one was. A. So easy. Being a shorter test Naruto was done relatively quickly. You have the rest of this afternoon free to rest and relax. We need to tabulate your current results so we can set the next series of tests for you. Naruto found himself back in his room that afternoon finally reading the book Shiho recommended. Sweet. The main character is named after me, said Naruto before he checked the published date which wasn't long before he was born, or I'm named after him. Jiraiya, isn't that Gigi's student? Maybe that's why Gigi gave me the name, because he liked this book. Now I have to read it. And so Naruto spent that afternoon and evening reading his new favorite book. Break. Just try to relax Uzumaki-san, This test is painless. It's just measuring your brain activity, explained Atsui as he watched over the medic perform the scan process the details to the transparent film. I'm relaxed, said Naruto, bored out of his mind. He'd been sitting for almost 2 hours while this medic repeatedly did brain scans and put the information on that dark transparent film. And we're done, said the medic, handing the stack of films over to Atsui and following him out of the room. Atsui returned a short while later. Please return to your room. Someone will come get you after lunch. Sure, said Naruto as meandered through the facility to his room to wait. It gave him time to read more of his favorite new book. A knock on his door snapped him out of the story. At the door he was greeted by Atsui. Follow me, said Atsui simply. Naruto, used to his lack of personality, followed the man through the facility where he knocked on a door. Saiga-sensei, this is Uzumaki Naruto, your afternoon evaluation, said Atsui politely to the young woman. Come in, Uzumaki-san, said Saiga, kindly gesturing him into the room. So you're a doctor? Asked Naruto. I am. Why don't you have seat? Said Saiga, sitting in her own chair. Sure. So what's up, doc? What kind of doctor are you and why am I here? Saiga smiled kindly. I'm a neurologist and psychologist. So, I know what a psychologist is. I've seen a few of you when I was real little after a few of the villagers got a little more handsy than they should have. But what is a neurologist? I'm a certified medic nin. My specialty is in brain injuries and defects, explained Saiga. So is my brain broken? Asked Naruto nervously. Saiga laughed kindly. Nope, despite what some of your peers say about you, have a normal functional brain, maybe even a little better than average. So that's a good thing, right? Asked Naruto, suspicious of the lady. Yes, Uzumaki-san, it's a good thing. Would mind if I call you Naruto-kun? Sure. What should I call you? Saiga-sensei or just sensei should be fine, she answered. Okay. So if my brain isn't broken, what am I doing here? My second job, she replied. I'm going to ask you a series of questions and I want you to answer honestly. Sure. I can do that, replied Naruto. Do you want to kill a person? What the hell kind of bullshit question is that? Demanded Naruto, put out. Saiga wrote some notes then answered. I'm trying to get a feel for you, Naruto. You're entering into a profession in which you may be called upon to kill. So my first question is if you feel a general desire to simply kill someone, anyone, specific or in general. Oh, well, no one I want to kill, except maybe Mizuki, damn traitor. So you would kill a traitor? If I had to, of course. I don't understand how someone could betray our village. I would probably try to capture them first though. I don't want to kill unless I really have to. Fair answer. Would you kill a civilian if they were threatening to kill another person, civilian or shinobi? Threatening? No. Attempting? Maybe. Again, and especially with a civilian, killing would be an absolute last resort. What about a foreign shinobi? Are they trying to kill someone in our village? No. Were they invited or do they have a peaceful reason to be here? No. I'd probably try to capture them first to question them. If they tried to kill me though, I'd definitely kill them first. You recently learned about the QB being sealed inside you. How do you feel about that? It sucks. Everyone hates me cause of this stupid thing. Do you want to hurt people who have been mean or tried to hurt you in the past? Sometimes, but then I want to show them I'm not the damn fox. How do you feel about the Yondaime? I think I'd probably sock him one if I ever met him. I get why he did it and I don't blame him. It's not fair, you know. Just one punch. It'd be enough. Just have to let him know he's an ass for doing it to me. Then I'd probably guilt him into teaching all his secret techniques. Naruto finished with a laugh which Saiga mirrored. If you could talk to the QB, is there anything you'd ask him or want to talk to him about? Maybe. I'd ask him why he attacked us. If could I'd give him a swift kick between the legs. And if he were a she? Asked Saiga laughing. Same thing, I'm sure it's got to hurt girls just as much even if the parts are different, said Naruto sheepishly. Saiga laughed full out on that one. You're right, it would. So, I understand you have a crush on your teammate Sakura-chan. Why is that? Back when I first started at the academy, she was the only one nice to me. It might have only been for a day, but it was something. I thought if I could just get her to spend some time with me, she'd be my friend again. So that's what you think dating is? Isn't it where a boy and girl go do stuff together for fun? It is, but usually dates are considered romantic, with kissing and stuff like that, explained Saiga. Naruto blushed. Well, I wouldn't mind kissing her. She's got really pretty hair. Would you be happy just being her friend though? Of course, I think it would be awesome to be friends, said Naruto. Do you think you could try just being friends with her and stop asking her for dates? But if I don't ask for a date, then how are we supposed to ever have fun together? Just ask if she would want to hang out, see a movie, or go eat lunch together. You just have to make sure you tell her it's just as friends. You have to make sure she understands you want a friend and not a girlfriend, even if that does happen eventually. And that really works? Asked Naruto, surprised. It really does, said Saiga with a friendly smile. Cool, I'll definitely try that. Now, what is this static between you and Sasuke-kun? Gah, don't tell me you're another of people that kiss the ground that stuck-up prick walks on like all the other dumbasses out there. Saiga wrote some quick notes. Tell me how you really feel about Sasuke. Naruto sighed. Sometimes, I think we could be friends, because we're both so alone. But then I see that superior smirk on his face and I want nothing more than to wipe that look off his face. He thinks he's so much better than me just because he's the last Uchiha. What a prick. Do you think your pride prevents you from befriending him? Maybe, but sometimes, I get this really unsettled feeling around him. Like maybe, I don't know. You ever hear how sometimes older shinobi can sense blood in the air, blood and death? I get that feeling around him, so I don't want to get too close to him. Is that weird? Some people are more in tune to certain instincts than others. I would trust your gut, but at the same time don't let your pride prevent you from making friends with people. Not just Sasuke. Naruto nodded. They spent several hours talking about anything and everything. Naruto had never had someone talk to him like that before. Saiga drew out thoughts and feeling Naruto didn't even know he had, except on what Saiga said was a subconscious level. It was very enlightening for Naruto. So, am I going to have to see you again? Asked Naruto. Do you want to? Kinda. You're nice to talk to and you listen to me, replied Naruto. Well, I can happily say you're a pretty stable young man considering how you grew up. You have some emotional issues, but nothing that would prevent you from becoming an outstanding shinobi and leader amongst your peers. That said, if you ever need someone to talk to, even just to unload your burdens on, I'm available to you. My regular office is in Konoha Hospital. You just have to make an appointment, but I'm usually free within a day or less if it's an emergency. Define emergency. If you think you're going to harm yourself or someone else, that's an emergency. Fair enough. Yeah, thanks a lot, Saiga-sensei, said Naruto with a real and genuine smile. Break. So, what's on the agenda today, Atsui-san? Asked Naruto. Today, we begin testing your chakra, said Atsui. Okay, and how do we do that? Asked Naruto. There are a great many tests we will be performing. It will be time-consuming but not overly taxing either physically or mentally. Cool. So what do I first? First, take off your shirt and stand in the center there. This is Hyuga Hado-san, said Atsui, introducing his tester for today. Okay, so what's he going to do? He's going to draw your chakra network on your skin for us, said Atsui. He'll mark the width of your pathways, your tenketsu, and their size. It will be time consuming, but it is entirely empirical data for us. So, I just stand here and draws on me? Asked Naruto with a raised eyebrow. Yes, said Atsui simply. Boring, whined Naruto loudly after having stood in the same place for almost 3 hours. As after the Hyuga marked up his body, 3 different scientists followed behind the man's progress with clipboards and transparent film which they would copy the markings onto. Please be patient, Uzumaki-san, said Atsui, we should be done in a few more hours. Few more hours, exclaimed Naruto, what the hell, man? Patience, said Atsui with a voice of finality. Naruto sighed and pouted, but it went on completely ignored. As promised, a few hours later the call was given. There, all done, said Atsui with a nod to Hyuga Hado. Finally, said Naruto, where's my lunch? One of the attendants came forward with his shaken bars which he happily devoured. Next we'll be measuring chakra flow rates, said Atsui, motioning for the scientists to begin placing monitoring equipment all over his body, specifically covering each and every one of his now marked tenketsu. Uzumaki-san, began Atsui, I need to pulse your chakra in a very specific pattern. I need you to reduce your chakra as small as you can, and then I need you push out the maximum you can and back to the minimum. I need you to repeat processed 100 times. It should provide a sufficient data pool for us to validate our numbers. Sure, said Naruto, trying to remain as cooperative as possible. He had been feeling so much more in control of himself since the previous afternoon with Saiga-sensei. If these weird, cold, clinical scientists have someone as cool as her working with them, then was willing to endure. On my command, minimum flow, said Atsui, checking with his assistants collecting the data. Getting the nods, minimum now and hold it. Maximum now and hold it. Minimum now and hold it. Maximum now and hold it, he ordered. It went on like that for the rest of the afternoon, holding at each position for anywhere from 5 minutes at the most to 10 seconds at the least. This completes day 8 testing. Eat, rest, we'll resume tomorrow morning, said Atsui, leaving Naruto behind. Break. Today we will be examining your chakra itself for anything hidden within it, said Atsui. He almost seemed excited today to Naruto. Cool, so this is where you're looking for the Kyuubi ability, right? Yes, and others, said Atsui, we'll start with examining your chakra affinity and the strength of that affinity. I'll take it from here, Atsui-sama, said Shiho, happy to be working with Naruto again. Over here, Uzumaki-san, Shiho guided him over to a table and seat. So what are these? Naruto asked, looking at several sheets of paper. These are chakra-sensitive papers, each is sensitive to very specific types of chakra. Now your chakra currently is untrained, so it doesn't differentiate between the various types and just kind of muddles it all together, so all of your possible affinities and chakra types are present at the same time. What these sheets will do is tell us to what level each type of chakra exists within your chakra. Neat. So why does it matter? Chakra has a lot of different potentials because of how you mix your spiritual and physical energies. So there are the 5 elemental affinities: fire, wind, lightning, earth and water. There are the spiritual aspects mostly found in Genjutsu and Iryojutsu. There are physical aspects like shape manipulation and taijutsu enhancements. Fuinjutsu doesn't really have an affinity to either physical or spiritual, but there is some chakra that reacts better with seals than others that we're able to test as well. There is also bloodline-specific chakra. We can't always identify the bloodline, but we can validate there is a Kake Genkai, Shiho explained to Naruto. This is the most I've had explained to me since I've been here, said Naruto. Why is this so different? Because depending on your results there will be further tests and possibly some experimentation. As this is the final phase of the testing, we can afford to take more time and give you some instruction as we work through all of this. This will also give us more time to investigate Kyuubi and any abilities as may provide you. Is that safe? Asked Naruto. I mean messing about with the fox. There is some danger due to the toxicity of the demon's chakra, but the risk is minimal for the testing we'll be doing. The seal itself will not be touched. We'll only be looking at your chakra, explained Shiho. Okay, so where do we start? Asked Naruto. We'll start with the elemental affinities. See if you've been given a combination element. Combination element, what does that mean? Like earth and water affinities can combine to create Mokuden, said Shiho, or wind and water can create Hyoten. But it's very rare, and if there isn't a perfect balance it won't work. Oh, cool, let's do this then, said Naruto excitedly. His mind couldn't but conjure up images of him destroying whole ninja armies with some badass combination of all 5 elements at once. Fire first, said Shiho, handing him a sheet with a small symbol for fire on the top right corner. What do I do? Just channel your chakra into it, explained Shiho. Naruto channeled chakra into as ordered and nothing happened. It's okay. Fire is not one of your affinities, and it's okay. Next is wind. Naruto channeled chakra into the wind card as order and it instantly turned a very dark green color. Wow, was that supposed to happen? Mostly, said Shiho, slightly surprised herself. You have a very, very strong wind affinity, that's why it's so dark and turned so dark as fast as it did. Sweet, so that means I can use kick-ass wind jutsu no problem, right? Yes and no, you will have an easier time with wind jutsu than others, but you will still need to train to use and recognize wind-aligned chakra within yourself. Still awesome, said Naruto. Now let's see if I've got another kick-ass affinity I can mix to make more badass jutsu. Shiho couldn't help but chuckle at Naruto's exuberance. Lightning, she said, handing over the next card, which again didn't respond like the fire. Earth, she handed the next one. This time the earth card turned a little brown in color. Minor earth affinity, that's a good mix, wind and earth complement each other nicely. Last one, water, she said, handing him the last card, which again didn't respond at all. So wind and earth but no combination element, said Naruto. Still, you said wind and earth complement each other, right? So, I'm still going to be a badass. Now, that's not to say you can learn other affinities, it is just that they will probably not be as strong, chakra efficient, or easy to learn as wind and earth will be, explained Shiho. Awesome, what's next? Next we'll see how your chakra mix is balanced, said Shiho, handing him a sheet with the symbol for spiritual on the right corner. Naruto channeled his chakra and the sheet turned a little gray, very, very little gray. Okay, so not much potential for genjutsu or iriojutsu, said Shiho, handing him a sheet with the symbol for physical on the right corner. Naruto channeled his chakra, and much like when he channeled chakra into the wind sheet, this one turned dark black almost instantly. So, you have very strong physical chakra presence. Don't worry though, with experience and training you can bring that a little bit more in balance, but your physical chakra will always be dominant, which is not always bad, explained Shiho. Cool. So you said that physical chakra is used more in shape manipulation and taijutsu enhancement, right? Yes, said Shiho, taking another sheet. This is for shape manipulation alignment. Naruto grinned happy and made to swipe at it before Shiho pulled it just out of reach. What gives? This one is different. We have to be very careful when holding it because it will literally change shape depending on your affinity to it. So I'm going to lay it on your hand. Palm up, please. Naruto complied. Once the sheet sat on his palm, he channeled a bit of chakra. Instantly from the sheet a large chain made entirely of chakra shot from his palm, branching out in 9 different chains, each with its own spike at the end. Was that supposed to happen? Asked Naruto. Atsui-sama, called Shiho, urgently rushing towards him. I had heard the previous Jinchuriki of Kyuubi could do this, but we were never able to test to see if this was her ability or the Kyuubi's, said Atsui, studying it closely. I can sense some of the Kyuubi's chakra within the constructs, but the chakra is mostly yours. I would say this is definitely the result of Kyuubi being within you. So this is my Jinchuriki ability. I would say so, but this is being maintained by that chakra paper. This is something you'll have to learn on your own through practice and experimentation. At least now you know you have the ability, explained Atsui in his standard clinical manner. Awesome, said Naruto excited, I can't wait to start working on this. Atsui removed the sheet from Naruto's hand and chains shattered into raw chakra in the air before dissipating entirely into nothingness. Continue with the testing, Shiho-san. Right away, sir, said Shiho, excited to see what else would come up. Okay, taijutsu, said Shiho, handing him the next sheet. It turned a dark gray color after a few moments. Strong taijutsu enhancement alignment, that's really good with your elemental affinities. You have good chakra, Uzumaki-san, said Shiho. Naruto blushed lightly and scratched the back of his head, feeling slightly embarrassed. You really think so? I know so, these tests don't lie. This is the bloodline sheet, she said, handing him another sheet. It turned a very slight pink color. What's that mean? Well, if you really are Uzumaki by blood, your clan has a passive bloodline sometimes called the line of longevity. It gives enhanced healing, longer life, and a fuinjutsu affinity. The first two are automatically fed by your chakra, and if you add in the QB, I would imagine those two are actually quite advanced. Some of your earlier tests should confirm that, and we check your fuinjutsu affinity now, Shiho explained scientifically, but Naruto could tell she was really excited about it. She handed Naruto the last sheet, which was instantly covered in endless lines of fuinjutsu symbols. As I thought, very strong fuinjutsu affinity. As I said earlier, you have very good chakra. Thanks, Shiho-chan, for everything, said Naruto, genuinely happy. Of course, Uzumaki-san, said Shiho, unable to hide the slight blush that decorated her face. So what now? Asked Naruto. You said something about experimentation or something like that. Indeed, but there are still a few more tests, but they won't take long. We need to check your chakra capacity and control, said Atsui, stepping in to move the testing forward. Once done, it will take us a few days to compile all of the results. While we are doing that, Shiho and some of the others here will be happy to help you in experimenting with your chakra so you can take advantage of our expertise. Sasuke was just about fed up with this place and their damn tests. It was wasting time. He could be training to become strong enough to kill his brother and put that darkness in his soul away forevermore. Until his brother was dealt with, he knew it was only a matter of time before he killed someone, if only to feel some kind of relief from the darkness pressing in on him. Or to feel anything other than rage and hate that saturated his entire being. At least he didn't have to sit around with that damned medic getting a brain scan for hours on end anymore. Fools, didn't they know who they were messing with? Follow me, said his evaluator Takeofu, cold and clinical as always. Where are you taking me now? Another test, said Takeofu. HN, responded Sasuke in his typical anti-social manner. This is Saiga-sensei, pay attention and answer her questions, said Takeofu, before walking away. Come in, Uchiha-san, said Saiga distantly. A hint of worry in her voice didn't escape the notice of the last Uchiha. Why am I here? I'm a neurologist and a psychologist, said Saiga. From your file I can see you've seen multiple psychologists that seem to have happily kissed your ass without regard for your mental health. What's your point? Saiga took out one of the transparent films the medic from earlier had made. Look at this, she said, pointing to one area of the image. You see all of this activity, this means part of your brain is overactive in ways it shouldn't be. Meanwhile, do you see this dark area here? She changed films and pointed to a different area. This is the area of your brain that controls your impulses, your anger and your rage. You have no limitation on these emotions. I need you to understand, this is not your fault. This is most likely the result of what your brother did you in addition to your family's terrible history of inbreeding. You dare speak against the Uchiha family and traditions. You who know nothing of the greatness of my clan, began the Uchiha in a tirade, only to be silenced by the sudden appearance of an Anbu with a lot of killing intent leveled at him and a strong hand on the shoulder to sit him down and calm him. "I meant no offense," said Saiga as calmly as she could. "I'm merely stating fact, and it is a fact your family had no qualms about marrying Uchiha blood with Uchiha blood in the hopes of created stronger Sharingan users with no knowledge of genetics or the fact they were without knowing it destroying their own bloodline. You don't have to like what I'm telling, but it does not change the facts." Snorted Sasuke. "Now, back to your scans. These scans show that you are without any doubt a sociopath and soon, most likely a serial murderer. You have an unquenchable need to kill someone, anyone, don't you, Uchiha-san?" asked Saiga calmly. "I will kill my brother and anyone who stands in the way," said Sasuke without remorse or consideration for the Anbu in the room. "I understand," said Saiga calmly. "Uchiha-san, you are not the only sociopath within the village. When you think about it, you'd realize and accept it as a fact. Now, the village can give you two choices. Option 1, you disappear into a deep dark hole used as breeding stock until a few viable offspring have been produced before your eyes are removed for study and you executed. Option 2, you let the village train you and focus your anger and rage at targets we provide you until such time we can aim you directly at your brother and be assured of your victory or the death of both of you. It's your choice. You have 30 minutes to decide. Stop this. Stop pushing at me. I don't like being pushed around. I won't tolerate any of you shitty head doctors telling me what I should. I am not trying to push you to anything. I am following orders. I don't care you are Uchiha, Hyuga, or even Senju. How dare you dictate terms to me? I am the last Uchiha. I am the elite of this village." Sasuke's rant was cut off again by the Anbu burying a fist in his gut, causing him to vomit his lunch onto the doctor's office floor. "Uchiha-san, let me be very clear. I am not dictating terms. I'm giving you two choices being offered by Hokage-sama. I am of the personal opinion that he is being too generous with this offer," said Saiga coldly. "I'll kill you," said Sasuke from his place on the floor. "I swear, one day I will remove your head and your skull. Nobody pushes me around and gets away with it. No one. No, you won't, Uchiha-san," said the Anbu. "She is following orders. You will follow orders or you will die. Why? Why does scum like you always stand in my way? Why do you all hold me back so? We are not holding you back. We are offering you the training you so desire so that you can get the strength you need to eliminate your brother. And in doing so you will be a weapon for this village, killing and filling that need inside you while benefiting the village itself, all the while getting stronger and stronger until that day we set you loose on Itachi. If you cannot abide by these terms, well, you've been advised." "Fine, I'll kill and murder so long as I get stronger," said Sasuke, a mad look completely overwhelming whatever sanity used to remain. "Good, your lessons begin when you leave here," said the Anbu. "One of our other sociopaths will come to you to begin your training. He will teach you how to blend in with the village. He will teach you to wear a mask of humanity. And then he will teach you how to kill to your heart's content without concern or consequence. This is necessary as your image is important to the village. Fine, whatever it takes, as long as I get to kill, to feel anything but this darkness on my soul," said Sasuke, unknowingly having activated his Sharingan eye. It was truly a cursed eye to feed on such pure evil as what festered within Sasuke's soul. "Your sensei will be informed. He will also help you. Most likely he will find missions in which he can feed you bodies to kill as you wish, but remember, you have an image that must be present for the village. You may tell your teammates if you wish, but it is not necessary. Just remember, they must live or it will be assumed you were responsible for their deaths and your deal is void." "I still have to deal with those losers?" asked Sasuke irritably. "Yes, and despite your belief they will hold you back, I can promise you they will not stand in your way or slow you down. Based on the result already tabulated from these tests, they will not be a hindrance, not even the dead last you so detest. You'll deal with the fangirl? Asked Sasuke, staring at Saiga. I will take care of it. I may have to tell her certain things to do so, said Saiga, as she had already planned on nipping that issue in the bud. I don't care. Tell her or both of them whatever the hell you want, snapped Sasuke, rage evident in his posture and eyes. So be it. What do you choose? Asked Saiga. Option 2, said Sasuke coldly, completely lost to his own darkness now. Break. Haruno Sakura was in a much better mood with the testing the last few days. The mental tests were definitely her strong suit. She enjoyed the brain scan earlier that day. She had a chance to speak in detail with the Irionin about what she was doing and how it worked. It was very fascinating. Haruno-san, this is Saiga-sensei, said Fushi before departing without another word. Please come in, Haruno-san, said Saiga kindly. Thank you, said Sakura politely. You seem much friendlier than everyone else I've met here so far. Well, that's my job, said Saiga. I'm a neurologist and a psychologist. Have you been to see either before? Only the short counseling in academy about killing, said Sakura. But never a neurologist. Is it difficult to work with the brain like that? It can be very difficult but also very rewarding. So as you can imagine, I did review the scan results for you and your teammates, said Saiga. You mean Naruto Baka has a brain? And it actually works. I don't believe it, she joked with the woman. Your teammate Naruto has an exceptional brain, believe it or not. Not the strongest memory, I'm afraid, but his synaptic response rate is extraordinary. He reflexes as a result border on precognitive. Pretty surprising, isn't it? Naruto. Really? Asked Sakura in disbelief. Truly, said Saiga with a kind smile. I also nipped Naruto's seeming crush on you in the bud. Oh, thank Kami, said Sakura in true relief. Sakura-chan, you need to understand, Naruto-kun hasn't had anyone to raise him or teach him social graces. He was under the impression that the only way he could spend time with a girl was to go on a date with them. What he really wants is a friend. His words, not mine. But, really, said Saiga kindly, I told him to stop asking you on dates and instead to ask if want to hang out as friends only. He remembers very fondly that early on in the academy you were nice to him when no one else was. Sakura got really quiet when that was mentioned. She remembered very cleared her mother's words about Naruto. I understand social pressure, Sakura-chan, you were only a little girl then. You've grown up quite a bit since then. You can make your own decisions about who you choose as friends. Thank you, Saiga-sensei, said Sakura with a grateful smile for the woman. Which brings me to my second issue. What's that? Sakura asked, truly clueless. Uchiha-san, the woman said the name as kindly as she could muster, but it still had an edge to it. What about Sasuke-kun? Asked Sakura worriedly. Sakura-chan, I've told you that I looked at the scans of both your teammates, correct? Sakura nodded nervously. Uchiha-san's came back very bad. His brother Itachi did a lot of damage to Sasuke's brain the same night the man murdered Sasuke's entire family. Do you understand what I've said so far? Sakura nodded, not trusting herself to speak just then as tears threatened to spill out. Sasuke's brain scan came back showing that he is, beyond any doubt, a sociopath. Do you understand what that means? He doesn't feel things like other people or at all, said a choked up Sakura, her worry for the last Uchiha evident. That's correct, and in this case he mostly feels rage, anger, hatred, and a strong desire to kill, explained Saiga. No, it can't be true. He wouldn't, he couldn't. Very much so true, Sakura-chan. I'm sorry to break your heart like this, but you need to be aware and you need to be very cautious around him. He's made it very clear to me that if your pursuit of him does not cease immediately, he will kill your family and make you watch before he turns and kills you too. I'm telling you this because I believe you have the smarts and ability to protect this secret. Maybe even protect some of those girls that seem determined to get to him. Sakura's eyes widened as she thought of her once best friend Ino. Do you remember Yoshi Yoko from your class last year? Sakura nodded worriedly. She vanished last year. People thought she quit and went back to her family in Tazukugai. We found her body in one of the Uchiha gardens yesterday, said Saiga, making it as absolutely as clear as she could. She was beaten to nearly to death before Sasuke set her on fire and then hid the body. Sakura cried then harder than she had ever cried before. You must also understand that Uchiha-san is important to this village. Hokage-sama is taking measure to ensure Uchiha-san is directed for the benefit of the village. You understand this is not the first sociopath the village has worked with. We want you to succeed Sakura-chan, but you need to know these things now before you cross a line you'll never come back from. Sakura could barely nod her head in understanding and the terror that permeated her body. What happened to Yoko could have just as easily happened to her or Ino. Why did he do it? After my first meeting with him, we did a search of his clan grounds and found her. When asked, he simply said she wouldn't stop pushing him. Mostly likely his snapping and killing her sated him enough to last a long time. But he will kill again. In the line of duty is preferred but not guaranteed unless we can control and direct him. Can you do your duty to the village in this matter? I'll do my duty to the village, Sakura barely choked out. Can I make a request? You can, but I can't promise anything, said Saiga. Yamanaka Ino, she needs to know. Please, I have to keep her safe from that monster, begged Sakura. She always looked out for me, I owe her at least this much. Yamanaka is a genin and part of the shinobi forces. She can be informed. Thank you, Saiga-sensei, thank you so much, cried Sakura, still distraught. Anbu-san, please go collect Yamanaka-san, we'll get this done with now so they can comfort each other for this, and Anbu appeared only to vanish. Sakura was slightly concerned about the Anbu being there. Sakura, that Anbu was only here to ensure that if you had a psychotic break you wouldn't hurt yourself or me, explained Saiga. I'm proud of you taking this as well as you did. Sakura nodded firmly, trying to wipe away the tears. The Anbu and Ino appeared only moments later. What the hell is going on? Demanded Ino, before she noticed Sakura's red splotchy face that had been crying very badly. Ino, cried Sakura, grasping onto her friend like a lifeline. What is it? Asked Ino. Is it Sasuke-kun? Was he hurt or did he die? Sakura shook her head, unable to form words. Ino-chan, interrupted Saiga. I'm Saiga-sensei, I'm a neurologist and a psychologist. As you're a Yamanaka, I'm sure you understand what that means, yes? Yeah, said Ino, fully aware. What's wrong with Sakura? Your friend Sakura is fine. Uchiha-san is not. What is it? What happened? Uchiha-san's brain was very badly injured years ago when his brother killed his clan and used a very nasty genjutsu on him. The result has left Uchiha-san as a sociopath. Do you understand what that means? Ino could only nod as tears started to stream down her face. He murdered Yoko-chan, Sakura whimpered out. Ino looked at Sakura in shock before looking to Saiga-sensei, who could only nod in confirmation. You understand that Uchiha-san is still important to this village. As such, he will be trained in a way that allows the village to use him a weapon to our own ends. Sakura felt you deserved to know this truth as her best friend and someone that looked out for her in the past. Ino could barely nod as her own crying paired with Sakura as she now held on to Sakura just as fiercely for support. I know this is terrible to learn, but you need to understand and protect yourself, both of you. Uchiha-san is very dangerous until he learns to focus and control his impulses. Fortunately, we caught this early enough we can properly monitor him, but he is still dangerous to those around him, explained Saiga. What about Naruto? Sakura finally asked. Shouldn't he be warned? Naruto-kun has amazing instincts. He knew before anyone else that there was something wrong with Uchiha-san. So while he may not know the details, he knows full well to be cautious. That kind of threw them both, but they didn't care enough to react to it at that time. Sakura-chan, tomorrow will be your last day of testing, after which I'd recommend going home, make clear certain intentions to your mother, then have a girls' night with Ino. Sakura nodded, agreeing completely. Ino-chan, I'd recommend you do the same, Saiga advised. Daddy never liked Uchiha-san anyway. At least now I know why, choked Ino, still sobbing. I'll leave you ladies here for a bit to collect yourselves. Try to get some rest tonight. Ino-chan, I'll talk to your sensei, let him know you'll be out sick for a few days but no more than that, okay? Yo, greeted one Junin Hitaki Kakashi from the office window of the Hokage. Ah, Kakashi, welcome back. I assume everything went well. Yeah, the Alpha team you sent me after is in the hospital now. They should all make it. I'm pretty sure only one of them will have to retire, reported Kakashi, reading his porn. Good to know, said the Hokage, so sending your potential team to SIPA was a very good decision. Oh, do tell, said Kakashi, looking up from his book. So, I had to fire 5 of the village psychologists. They were flubbing the reports on the last Uchiha, started the Hokage. So there was permanent damage? Asked Kakashi. It's confirmed, he's a full-on sociopath, said Sarutobi, he still has value though. He's agreed to be weaponized as much as we're able given his psychosis. Ah, said Kakashi sadly. Danzo will be taking a hand in his development once the evaluation has ended. He's going to start training him to fit in better to the village image. We'll feed the boy a few criminals to execute in the meantime. Hopefully that will stave off his need for a short time. I'm hoping a month of work with Danzo will help him gain control enough. This is always tricky even when we've had years to prepare, said the Hokage, as detached as he could manage. He was truly heartbroken the boy could not be saved from his own pain. At the very least he would be given the tools to survive long enough to get his revenge. I'm surprised it was so bad, he seemed to have a decent handle on it, said Kakashi. What changed? He was confronted, said the Hokage. For the first time someone in a position of authority confronted him with the harsh, unfiltered truth, and he had no way to rein himself in once his rage took hold. Whatever grip he had was stripped away in a heartbeat. I saw the video, it was literally like a switch had been flipped and the calm, arrogant boy was gone, and in his place stood a blood-stained kunai. And yet, not an hour later he was back to his normal outward appearance. Only now when I look at the boy I know it's there, just under the surface. Sometimes we just can't escape our own darkness, said Kakashi thoughtfully. After a brief silence between the two, Kakashi spoke again. I'll have to push my team harder up front then. We'll have to get into C ranks that much faster to keep the boy sated. I guess this means I can't fail them now, huh? I'm afraid that is no longer an option, the elderly man stated. The boy has already killed one of his classmates. That girl that went missing last year was found yesterday. She did not have an easy passing. I see, said Kakashi, feeling further depressed. The good news is the other 2 are gems in the rough, said Sarutobi. I haven't got the final reports yet, but I've heard some very promising things. That's good, said Kakashi. Minato-sensei would be glad for that. I know this has already gone pear-shaped from what you were hoping for with this team, but you always knew this was a possibility, said the Hokage. I'm more upset that those dumbasses out there compromised the village's security because of the fucking Uchiha name. We could have caught this years ago and been training him all along. Now we have to play catch up, and I have 2 fresh genin kunoichi that had to be informed of the little sociopath's issues for their own safety. Haruno and Yamanaka, asked Kakashi to verify. He was familiar with the file, but it never hurt to check. The Hokage nodded affirmatively. It's for the best in the long run, I suppose. Better prepared than dead, replied Kakashi. And what of Naruto? Boy has good instincts, he knows something is wrong with the Uchiha but doesn't know the details. Probably for the best anyway, said Sarutobi taking a long drag on his freshly lit pipe. Those will serve him well, replied Kakashi rather sedately. Anyway, we should have the full reports tomorrow morning. I've already instructed your team to be here tomorrow, we'll meet with Sasuke first. Be on time, we can't afford your tardiness in this situation. Sure, said Kakashi stretching, I'll see you tomorrow then. Break. Sasuke didn't know why but over the last few days he'd felt calmer since meeting with Saiga-sensei. He definitely wanted to kill the woman, that hadn't changed. But just having his darkness exposed, not having to hide the horror of his soul seemed to calm him down considerably. Maybe it was the promise of training him to become a better killer that calmed him so. Or the promise that he would get to kill to his heart's content that set him more at ease with himself. Either way he felt, better isn't right word for it. He just didn't feel as bad. Welcome Uchiha-san, said the Hokage from behind his desk. The old man was leaning back in his chair with his hands steeped together in front of him, his pipe gently smoking. Behind and to the right was a Junin with one eye and vertical silver hair. This is Hitaki Kakashi, your Junin sensei, said the Hokage calmly, he is aware of your situation. The current plan is about 1 month of work inside the village to develop a little teamwork and to help you gain a bit more control on certain aspects of your condition. A man named Danzo will be here momentarily. He will be responsible for the majority of your training. He has also already arranged for a few criminals for you to kill, get in a bit of practice if you will. Can you work under these circumstances? Sasuke was surprised by how easily the Hokage seemed to just accept him for what he was, what they now knew without any doubt that he was. It was truly the perfect offer for him. I can accept. Now, don't let Danzo fool you by his injuries, he's almost as dangerous as I am, said Sarutobi as he motioned to one of the Anbu who opened a door in a false wall. Sarutobi, said Danzo curtly, let's get through this report so I can start training the boy. Very well, said Sarutobi pushing the intercom button on his desk, please send in Takeofu-san. Right away, came the reply. The door opened moments later and Takeofu stiffly entered the room. Hokage-sama, he greeted immediately. Let's all sit, said the Hokage motioning to the open chairs. Takeofu, begin when you're ready. Takeofu handed each man a 50-page booklet. We broke the testing into 3 main areas, physical, mental and chakra. I'll be explaining the results for each section in brief. First I will explain strengths and weaknesses of each area and then recommendations for training in each area. I will end with a potential career path recommendation. If you require any clarification you can interrupt if needed or simply refer to the full evaluation you each hold now. Any questions before we begin? The audience of 4 merely looked on silently. First, physical, began Takeofu. Uchiha-san is in good physical condition exceeding that of the majority of his peers. His flexibility is good and his strength is moderate. His stamina is also moderate. What do you mean by good and moderate? Asked Danzo. Moderate is middle ground. He is at the expected level in those area but does not go beyond what would be expected. Good means he is a considerable margin ahead of what would be expected. Continue, said Danzo with a nod. His visual reflexes are exceptional, visual tracking, trajectory tracking are all exceptional as would be expected of someone of the Uchiha clan. Sasuke couldn't help but smirk. His muscle reflexes are good but they cannot keep up with his eyes. This often means he tries to move or react but his body cannot physically keep up with his eyes. He is overly reliant on his eyes to tell his body how to move and does not use his hearing well to boost his reactive awareness. Sasuke sneered at that. His sense of smell and taste are poorly developed, most likely as a result of a high acidic diet. Confirmed by Uchiha-san, he eats a lot of tomatoes. His sense of hearing is moderate. His diet is otherwise well balanced and shows no signs of growth deficiency or failure to take in the necessary protein and nutrients on a daily basis. Quote. Training recommendations are as follows. Speed training is going to be extremely important for his body to catch up to his eyes so that he can react on pace. Training his hearing to assist his visual reflexes would also be beneficial but not essential. Tracking training is not recommended beyond academy basics. Sasuke listened to the man's report and it wasn't bad. It wasn't really good either compared to past evaluations he'd received at the academy. Then Saiga sensei's words rang in his head about people in the village praising him only because of his name. His fist instantly clenched as his need to kill rose up within him. It was sudden as 3 killing intents bombarded him, subduing his rage instantly. Thank you Takeofu-san, please continue, said the aging Hokage congenially. Mental, began Takeofu, we administered several tests to gauge his mental acuity and personality in addition to the psychological profile you have all already been made aware of. Continue, said the Hokage, nodding his acknowledgement of the aforementioned psychological profile. He scored a 153 on his intelligence quotient test. He is very smart and learns quickly. He also understands concepts and theories better than most as a result. His memory is moderate. We conducted 2 different personality tests. First, we analyzed Uchiha-san attitudes towards others. He is a very strong introvert preferring to be alone. He prefers to plan his action, take action, review his action. He is overwhelmed by crowds of people as he feels like they sap his energy where he feels he can most easily regain that energy in isolation from others. Part of this analysis included how Uchiha-san judges and perceives information. His judgment is based mostly on feeling, which based on his condition is usually rage and anger-induced decision-making. This is about 60%, the other 40% is based on thinking or logic-based decision-making. So while more often than not his feelings will guide him, he at least can steady himself through logical thought process. Danzo was not easily impressed, but this analysis was extremely beneficial. Just in knowing this would make training the boy considerably easier. The second personality test was the type test. Uchiha-san is a strong type of personality. A full description can be found inside the booklet. Training recommendations are as follows. His mental acuity is solid, but more mathematics and sciences would not harm him, nor would some memorization exercises. Personality-wise, it is strongly recommended that a focus on using his logical decision-making would be for the best. There are thousands of logic exercises available on request. This would help to offset his current condition. I don't give praise lightly, began Danzo, but I believe this report alone made whatever expense in providing this testing cost worth every last ryo. I'm inclined to agree, said Kakashi as he too saw the immediate benefit that knowledge alone would make for him in training his genin. Thank you Danzo-sama, Hitaki-san, said Takeofu, shall I continue? Please, said the Hokage, also pleased with the results so far. Chakra, said Takeofu, we tested for all elemental affinities, both major and minor. We tested all chakra subclasses as well as bloodline chakra. Uchiha-san has an above average and fairly well balanced affinity for fire and lightning both. Combination element is unlikely but worth investigating. His chakra is perfectly balanced between spiritual and physical. On the spiritual side he has 0 affinity for Iryojutsu but a strong affinity for Genjutsu. On the physical side he has 0 affinity for shape manipulation but a strong affinity for taijutsu enhancement. His bloodline chakra is extremely powerful. It is expected his Sharingan will mature quickly now that it has manifested. He has a minor affinity for Fuinjutsu. Probably nothing beyond storage scrolls or explosive tags would be recommended. His chakra control is moderate, his chakra flow rate is moderate, and his chakra capacity is above moderate. Training recommendations are as follows. Elemental training is strongly suggested as potential combination element is highly valuable. Genjutsu is strongly suggested as Uchiha Itachi is a very powerful genjutsu user and will need to be combated. Taijutsu enhancement will come naturally due to the Sharingan, but some basic training will not be detrimental. Basic chakra control exercises will be sufficient as capacity will develop in conjunction with his natural growth and training. Uchiha-san has strong potential in combat and more specifically in assassination due to his condition. Stealth training and poison and toxin training are highly recommended. Fast track to Chunin and movement into Anbu highly recommended. Strong candidate for S-class assassin with proper training. Sasuke liked a lot of what heard, but a lot of it also pissed him off. To say he had zero talent in some areas was ridiculous. He was an Uchiha and there was nothing he could not do. At the same time, the areas where they said he had no talent meant nothing to him anyway, so it wasn't like he was going to train in those areas anyway. I am pleased, said Danzo, you may bill Uchiha-san evaluation to me directly. Sarutobi was greatly surprised by that. Danzo was very cautious and in the time he'd known him very cheap. For Danzo to pick up that village expense on his own spoke volumes of the value he saw in it. You'll get my vote for this when it comes up before council, said Danzo to Sarutobi before turning to Sasuke. Come with me, young Uchiha, we have much to work on. Sasuke nodded once and stood to follow the man. First team meeting will be in 1 week at Training Ground 7 at 9 a.m. Sasuke, said Kakashi as the boy followed Danzo out. Thank you for your time, Takeofu-san, said the Hokage, it was much appreciated. You did exceptional work. Thank you, Hokage-sama, said Takeofu with a deep bow. If you'll excuse me, I have more work to do. Of course, said the Hokage with a nod as the man stiffly left the room. If the other two's reports are anywhere near as comprehensive, I'll be a shoo-in for Junin Sensei of the Year, said Kakashi with a mild chuckle. Possibly, said Sarutobi, Sakura-chan is due in about 40 minutes. Why don't you go get us something to eat? Kakashi nodded and vanished. Break. Haruno Sakura couldn't help feeling nervous as she sat before the Hokage. So much of her life and what she thought she knew had changed rapidly over the last few weeks. Truthfully, she was still feeling a bit heartbroken at the previously unimaginable loss of Uchiha Sasuke's future love. She understood it only too well, which only made things worse. Still, the light at the end of this was getting her best friend back. Hello, Sakura-chan, said the Hokage with a grandfatherly smile for the girl. Hokage-sama, returned Sakura with nervous nod. Relax, I promise no one here will bite, said the Hokage with a chuckle. I know the last few weeks have been hard on you and I want you to know I'm truly sorry for that. This village failed that boy and I take full responsibility for that. That said, the boy will be getting the help he needs to live some semblance of a normal life, but it does not change what he is. Will you be able to continue being a shinobi knowing what you do? I believe I can, said Sakura. It is sad and maybe a little scary, but it really made think about why I chose to become a shinobi in the first place. It wasn't to win a boy's heart. I wanted to make my parents proud of me. I wanted to be strong like Ino was back then. That's good, Sakura-chan, said the Hokage. With that attitude you will go far as a kunoichi of this village. Now, first let me introduce you to Hitaki Kakashi, your Junin sensei. Hello, said Kakashi with a wave glancing up from his book. Pleased to meet you, said Sakura politely, having noticed that the man was shamelessly reading porn in front of her and the Hokage. Now, let's get to it, shall we? Said the Hokage smiling as he reached towards the intercom. Send in Fushi-san. Right away, came the response. Only a moment later the office door opened and Fushi entered just as stiff and clinical as always. Please have a seat, Fushi-san, said the Hokage gesturing to an open seat. Thank you, Hokage-sama, said Fushi sitting rather stiffly. You may begin when ready, said Sarutobi, anxious to hear this next set of results. Fushi handed each person a 50-page booklet similar to the one Takeofu provided them earlier. We broke the testing into 3 main areas: physical, mental and chakra. I'll be explaining the results for each section in brief. First I will explain strengths and weaknesses of each area and then recommendations for training in each area. I will end with a potential career path recommendation. If you require any clarification, you can interrupt if needed or simply refer to the full evaluation you each hold now. Any questions before we begin? It was verbatim what Takeofu has said earlier. It must have been a prepared introduction from the director Atsui. Physical. Fushi began. Haruno-san is just below moderate physical condition. Her flexibility is good but her strength and stamina are both poor. Her reflexes are all moderate but she lacks the strength and speed to capitalize. This is a direct result of poor eating habits. That is not to say she is malnourished, but what she eats is in poor choosing. She eats plenty of vitamin and mineral-rich salads and vegetables but not nearly enough carbohydrates, proteins and calories for the life of a kunoichi. Quote, Sakura actually sunk in her chair at that particular dressing down. It was embarrassing to have her diet insulted like that. Her sense of smell and taste are both moderate. Training recommendations are as follows. Primary concern is correcting her nutritional balance. It will allow her to build the missing muscle and physique required of a kunoichi. Stamina training is also highly recommended as it will also help in correcting her muscle deficiency. Kakashi nodded thoughtfully as he studied the girl. It was readily apparent that the report was accurate. Mental, said Fushi moving on in his evaluation report, we administered several tests to gauge both mental acuity and personality in addition to a psychological profile. Haruno-san scored exceptional well on the intelligence quotient test at 174, ranking her intelligence at high genius. Her memory is eidetic, meaning if she sees it she remembers it in clear detail. Her synaptic response rate is normal, so while she remembers everything she is not able to fully process every detail of what she sees without thoughtful reflection on what she has seen. This surprised all 3 of the remaining occupants of the room. Sakura knew she was smart but not like that. When we tested her using rapid images requiring her to write down the image and in the order it appeared, she was perfect, something none of us had ever encountered before. It was quite exceptional, said Fushi, smiling ever so slightly. That smile though meant the world to Sakura. We conducted 2 different personality tests. She is a type of personality which is fully described in the booklet, and it should provide minor insight, as the other personality test is one we prefer as we believe it to be more accurate. Haruno-san is a mild extrovert. She is likely to react, think about her reaction then act further. She enjoys the company of others as it tends to give her energy, where being alone tends to sap her of energy. She tends to make decisions based on thinking, using logical conclusions to fuel her choice of action. She perceives the world through her senses, i.e. taste, touch, sound, smell and sight. Similar to, what you see is what you get. Muttered Kakashi, it was going to take some work to get the girl to see underneath the underneath. Training recommendations are as follows. Any knowledge you can feed her is to her benefit. Due to her chakra nature, which will be detailed shortly, it is highly recommended she be given texts on medicine, botany, anatomy, and any other relevant textbooks. This surprised Sarutobi and Kakashi greatly. Even Sakura was slightly surprised, even though she already knew about her chakra. Chakra, said Fushi. It almost seemed as if the woman were about to bubble over with excitement. We tested for all the various chakra affinities, both major and minor. Haruno-san has a moderate affinity to water and a minor affinity to earth. Her chakra is very strong spiritually but weak physically. She has a minor affinity for taijutsu enhancement, but it is almost non-existent. She has 0 affinity for shape manipulation. She has very strong affinity to Iriojutsu and a strong affinity for Genjutsu. She has no bloodline affinity. Finally, she has minor Fuinjutsu affinity. She should probably stick to storage scrolls and explosive notes if anything. Her chakra control is perfect, Fushi said without hesitation. Her flow rate is moderate and her capacity is poor. Training recommendations are as follows. Iryojutsu should be the highest priority for training. With her chakra control and affinity, she could become a highly valued Iryonin. Basic chakra control exercise will not benefit her beyond learning the techniques themselves but could be used to help increase her stamina and chakra capacity if worked in conjunction. A few defensive elemental techniques would be encouraged to increase chance of survival if she chooses to become a combat Iryonin. Genjutsu would also be beneficial if used defensively. Haruno-san's potential clearly lies in the more subtle aspects of shinobi life. With her memory and chakra control, she could become an exceptional Iryonin of A class with proper dedication and training. Thank you very much, Fushi-san, said Sakura cheerfully. It was one of the nicest things anyone had said about her and being a ninja at the same time. I promise I'll make the best of your recommendations. It was my pleasure, Sakura-chan, said Fushi with a real smile. Now that you're no longer my subject, I can treat you like a normal person. Yes, thank you, Fushi-san, said the Hokage. So far you and your colleagues have done exceptional work. It was my honor, Hokage-sama, said Fushi, standing and bowing to his leader. However, I do have more work, so if you'll excuse me. Of course, keep at it, you do this village proud, said Sarutobi with a smile before turning to Sakura. So, what do you think? Was it worth it? Sakura seemed contemplative. I think so, yeah, definitely. Good, said Sarutobi. So, given this information, would you be interested in becoming an Iryonin? I think it would be a good path for me, said Sakura honestly. How would I start? Kakashi will take you to the hospital in a few minutes and introduce you to the head with my instructions that you are to begin your training. This will be stressful as you'll have these duties in addition to your normal genin duties. Think you can manage? I know I can, said Sakura, excited once again about being a ninja. Good, said the Hokage, looking to Kakashi. Take her over and get her settled. Naruto is due to arrive in about 2 hours. Sure, said Kakashi nonchalantly as he started walking from the office, nose still in his book. Break. Hey Gigi, shouted Naruto as he entered the office. I told you I was a badass just waiting to happen. Sarutobi couldn't help laughing at Naruto's usual exuberance. Well, is that so? I haven't seen the report yet. You wouldn't lie to me, would you? What? Of course I wouldn't lie to you. What kind of a badass Hokage would I be if I did? Said Naruto indignantly, though still grinning ear to ear. Well, that's good, said Sarutobi, feeling years younger just having Naruto in his presence. Naruto sniffed the air once and got a contemplative look on his face. It was not something Sarutobi hadn't seen often on the blonde's face. Hey, where's Inu-san? Asked Naruto excitedly. I have seen him around in years. Kakashi, the expression on his face unchanged, actually lowered his book completely, which if you knew Kakashi was similar to him screaming out in surprise. Oh, and what makes you think Inu-san is here? Asked the Hokage. Well, during that testing thing they made smell a bunch of stuff and tell them what it smelled like to me, and now it's like my nose is overcharged. I'm smelling all kinds of things I never noticed before. It's so weird. Like just now I remember Inu-san's smell from when I was little and he'd pick me up, explained Naruto. It's totally tripping me out, man. The Hokage chuckled. I can imagine. Naruto-kun, this is Hatake Kakashi, your Junin sensei. And since I don't think we can hide it from you, he is also Inu-san. What? Really? Asked Naruto, looking at Kakashi. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, the hair is the same after all. The Hokage laughed pretty good at that detail. Very true, Naruto-kun. So, how you been without me around? I hope things haven't been too boring, said Naruto quickly and excitedly. Things are always boring without you around, Naruto-kun, but let me tell you a secret, said the Hokage, whispering the last part. Sometimes boring is good. My poor old ticker can only take so much. All the more reason for you to hand over the hat, joked Naruto. So, have you figured out how to ban paperwork yet? Nope, but I'm working on it, said Sarutobi laughingly. Anyway, we shouldn't keep Atsui-san waiting any longer. Yeah, sure, bring in the boring guy, said Naruto, trying to hide his excitement to hear his final results. Send in Atsui-san, said Sarutobi into the intercom system. Good afternoon, Hokage-sama, greeted Atsui as he entered the office. Good afternoon to you as well, please have a seat and let's get down to business, said the Hokage politely but also somewhat excited. Thank you, said Atsui polite as he handed each of those present a 50-page booklet. We broke the testing into 3 main areas: physical, mental and chakra. I'll be explaining the results for each section in brief. First I will explain strengths and weaknesses of each area and then recommendations for training in each area. I will end with a potential career path recommendation. If you require any clarification you can interrupt if needed or simply refer to the full evaluation you each hold now. Any questions before we begin? Did you write that introduction for the other 2 as well? Asked Kakashi, his curiosity piqued. No, why? That is verbatim the exact same introduction Fushi-san and Takeofu-san gave, said Kakashi. I'll have to check with them, said Atsui in momentary thought. Anyway, please proceed, said Sarutobi. First we'll discuss the results of the physical evaluation. Uzumaki-san is in good physical condition. His flexibility and strength are both moderate and his stamina is exceptional. We could detect no medical irregularities in his blood, heart or organs. His rate of recovery and healing is beyond exceptional. His reflexes are exceptional, bordering on precognitive. He uses his hearing as well as sight when reacting. He is hindered only by a lack of speed. During his initial reflex test he was stuck only 13 times and only 3 of those were direct hits, the rest simply glancing blows that could have been avoided if he had been a slight bit faster. He is slightly malnourished. This is in part due to diet selection but mostly due to a lack of enough food. He has already begun corrective measures and should recover within 6 months if he can maintain his new nutritional diet and caloric intake. His salt intake is still high due to his preference for ramen but acceptable when balanced with his new supplementation. Quote,